right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar all about takeout cups and containers and how to expand recycling access and participation in your cities and counties. My name is Ashley Elzinga. I am the Director of Sustainability and Outreach for the Food Service Packaging Institute. FPI, we are a trade association that represents the food service packaging industry. So think of manufacturers, material suppliers like paper mills and resin suppliers, and then the converters and manufacturers of those products. With that, I'll give a quick introduction and overview of FPI and the work that we do. We're going to hear from Denise Young from Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, and she's going to give us the community perspective on the program and our partnership. And then we're going to talk to Patrick from First Star Recycling. He's going to give us the MRF perspective on including food service packaging and takeout containers. And then Maggie is going to talk about resources and tools that we've developed over a decade of research to help you communicate and educate to your residents. And then, as I mentioned, the Q&A will be at the end. So FPI, as I mentioned, is the trade association for the food service packaging industry. You can see some of our products up on the screen right now. We focus on plastic food service packaging, paper food service packaging, compostable food service packaging, and then also foam polystyrene. So we, any kind of format, cup, containers, boxes, and bags we focus on. We have a separate recovery group where our members voluntary provide funding into these recovery groups so that food service packaging can get recycled and composted across the US and Canada. And then here is just a logo slide of our current membership. You might be very familiar with some of those logos, and some maybe not so familiar, but they are large players in the packaging and material space. So we want to thank all of our members, if you're on here, for your support as well. And with that, yep, and we can work together to recycle more food service packaging so that we can strengthen our circular economy. Sorry. And so with that, I would like to introduce you to Denise Young, is the Interim Waste Reduction Administrator for the Athens-Clarke County Solid Waste Department, where she leads education, outreach, and marketing initiatives aimed at reducing waste and promoting sustainability. She oversees public engagement efforts across social media, schools, community programs, and facility tours that help residents, businesses, and organizations better understand and participate in the waste reduction practices. As a true advisor certified by the Green Business certification, Denise is committed to advancing zero waste principles in her community and beyond. She serves on the board of directors for the Georgia Recycling Coalition and is an active member in SWANA, the U.S. Composting Council, USGBC, and a certified master composter. Thank you for being here today, Denise.
Thank you so much for having me. So I am speaking to you from Athens, Georgia. So we are a university town, so we do have our own challenges with students coming and going. So my role specifically is the education portion, but I want to give you a quick overview of how it was for us in Athens. So we added cups, is really what we focused on, was paper cups. So you can go ahead, next slide. So our first steps is we want to connect with, of course, the paper mill to make sure that they were going to accept our paper cups before we started promoting that we could recycle them. So our paper mill specifically was Pratt in Conyers, Georgia, and working with RRS and FPI, they made this a very seamless process in helping us connect with them and verify that, yes, they will be able to take it for us. So yes, they said no problem at Pratt. And the pictures here are just illustrating one of our, what I thought was kind of fun that we did. We just kind of did a practice trial run through our facility. So this is actually, we do have our own recovered material processing facility in Athens. It's a public-private partnership currently with RDS. And we partnered with Jittery Joe's, which is one of our local coffee roasters that has bright orange coffee cups. So we asked our local roasters at their coffee shops if they could start collecting the coffee cups and put it in their recycling. and we would see it coming through our facility, hopefully, in those bright orange cups. So these are just some pictures to kind of illustrate how it came through the facility. So the first conveyor line is after the OCC screen and the glass breaker, so going out to our container line. So you got a couple of orange cups that have floated through on that line. This picture in the middle is one of our workers finding the first paper cup coming up the line. So he would also be pulling off paper cartons and also HDPE #2. And so we've added to his role there the paper cups. So he was excited to find the first orange cup that came through the facility. And then the final picture on the right is the fiber line. So some of the paper cups did end up going in the container line, and then some were flat enough that they made it over into our fiber line. So then you can see that just one of our cups ended up over there that is identified with a little circle there. So we verified that yes, the paper cups are making it through the facility. So then our next step would be our marketing and education. So again, that was mostly my role. So we did have to kind of finalize what our plan was going to look like. So how are we going to let people know about this and get the education out there so that they can know that there's a new material that we can now take here in Athens? So RRS and FPI were amazing to work with. So all the graphics that you're going to see came from them. They changed the colors to match our logo and changed everything to Athens, put our website on there. Pretty much all we had to do was plug it in and play. So they did a lot of the hard work for us. So this is the graphic that we had for here in Athens. So we wanted to plan some kind of event. What would that look like? So just to let you know, so we rolled this out in 2021 and early 2021. And if you remember that was actually during COVID. So an event in 2021 was a little tricky. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. We also, of course, had to do social media posts as well as print marketing. And again, all the materials were available from RRS. So this is our kickoff event. So again, during COVID, we decided to do a little drive-through. Again, partnering with the local roaster, Jittery Joe's. They are amazing with several of our events, but they offered to give away free coffee. So we did a free drive-through where people could come through, and we had educational materials. People would get a free cup of Joe. We also partnered with our local Coca-Cola bottling plant that's here in Athens, and we got free donations of Coca-Cola products. So if they didn't want coffee, that they could get a soda, so they could still get that caffeine kick. So they would come through a drive-through and check in with us. We had the marketing materials in a little circle. We handed out bags and information about what all you can recycle, emphasizing the paper cups were added. And so there we have Charlie Mustard, who's he's the main roaster over there at Jittery Joe's, speaking to everyone. He's kind of a local celebrity. And then next to him is another little local celebrity that we invited as well, just again to make the event fun as much as we could for a drive-through during COVID. It's the Pink Flamingo, and so she rides a unicycle and plays the baritone. So it was actually fun for the staff for her to be there as well. But this was a fun event that people came through and got free coffee and a free soda. And again, just spreading the word about that paper cups can now be recycled here in Athens. And then RS also worked with us to get a press release pushed out. So we have our University of Georgia paper, the red and black, share that paper cups can now be recycled in Athens, as well as Athens Banner Herald, which is the local newspaper. And then we have a great partnership also with the University of Georgia with their sustainability office, where they also pushed it out on social media and as well as their newsletter and on their website. So we had a lot of support here in the community to help spread the word. And again, we wanted to emphasize our partnership with Jittery Joe's, so you can see that bright orange cup in those pictures as well. And then to the social media, so we did boost some of our Facebook pages ads. Again, all of this was really supported through RRS. We also received a grant from Coca-Cola that we were able to use that money for print materials as well as Facebook boosting. That graphic that was on the right, the little video, that came from RRS. So it was very little work actually on our part, which we really greatly appreciate. Again, just uploading stuff and getting the word out there. In the bottom left, we actually made some window clings that we could take to some of the local businesses, again, promoting the paper cup recycling. And then we did, again, great partnership with the University of Georgia. So they also did their own little marketing. So sharing it at their dorms, their cafeterias, and throughout their different departments that paper cups are now recyclable. So that's just the social media posts that they had going. And then we also had kind of a big thing downtown where we added in big bellies downtown to help with the litter that we have downtown, unfortunately, and the amount of material that we get down there. When we're utilizing what was happening, another way to emphasize, again, we can recycle paper cups. So while we were also sharing about these great big bellies that were coming in, we also, as a reminder, you can still recycle your paper. You can now recycle your paper cups. And again, we've got our Jittery Joe's cup to help promote them for that great partnership that they're doing with us. And on the side of that big belly, on the right, you can see that we had a new poster designed that now includes the paper cup in the messaging there. And just to show you more examples of things that we had printed on. So the bottom left is our automated truck. So that's what's collecting our recycling in our local communities residentially. And so we have one of our trucks got its graphic put on the side of it. Again, that same message, same colors. In the middle there is our event trailer. That is what we take our recycling, trash, and composting bins downtown. We do have a lot of large events downtown, especially Aft Fest, Twilight, or some big events that we have downtown. We have thousands of people from all over coming to these events for a bike race and for concerts. So that event trailer is what we tote all of our clear streams in. So again, having that same messaging on there. And occasionally we would take that around to other events throughout the community. So again, just getting that word out there, including paper cups on there. But then that's all food containers in that image. And then on the right, which you may have seen that at the event, was a pop-up banner. We had a few of those printed. So if we didn't have a space where we could take our trailer, we had our little pop-up banner that we could have there as well. Again, using that same messaging. And then it's a different shape and size. So that was great for RS to be able to give us customized different sizes for the different applications of that print material for us. And then always trying to use that hashtag Recycle Right Athens and all of our social media posting. And then the biggest thing that we found, so again, it's been about 5 years, almost going on 5 years, that we have added paper cups to our recycling stream. And we have noticed that we still have to have the education out there. I do our tours, and we have a lot of people that are still coming on the tours, and they didn't realize that you could recycle your coffee cup or their McDonald's cup. So we have on the left there is our newsletter, so explaining that paper cups are now recyclable, again, showing the graphic that's on the trucks. And also in that newsletter, we explained why, because a lot of people were confused about the wax and that was a hindrance of getting paper cups to recycled, and it explained that there is no longer wax on paper cups. And that is us on the top right at our events, just demonstrating that the clear streams that we have with the messaging that now paper cups are recyclable, so they're included. We actually pulled out, so you can see that middle graphic, specifically cups, so plastic and paper cups, along with the normal aluminum cans, bottles, and paper. And then another example of our social media, can I recycle my cup? So not only can you recycle your plastic cup and styrofoam, we have a Center for Hard to Recycle Material. So that could go there, but we focused on single stream recycling. So plastic cups and paper cups, yes, we can recycle those. Just make sure you take out the straw. And then to the right is just an example of our stickers that go on all of our roll carts. So again, that green and yellow and orange was our branding, because that's what color our roll carts are here in Athens. So you're welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions, but that's how we handled it here in Athens to add paper cups to our recycling stream. We do take all kind of paper containers, but for this marketing, we really did push paper cups. But I'll pass it back to Ashley.
All right, great. Thank you, Denise. Up next, we have Patrick Leahy. Sorry, Patrick. He is the CEO of First Star Recycling, a material recovery facility servicing all of Nebraska, parts of Iowa, and South Dakota. Before this role, Patrick has experience that includes government, political campaigns, nonprofit fundraising, and consulting. Patrick is also currently a major in the U.S. Army Reserve, serving at the U.S. Strategic Command out of Offutt Air Force Base. He currently serves on the board for Keep Omaha Beautiful and Humanities Nebraska. So thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you for the Food Packaging Institute for setting up this webinar and asking us to speak on it. I'm going to speak from the MRF perspective. I may repeat a lot of what Denise has shared in her presentation, which was great. And that's because, as probably many of the folks in attendance know, for uh, any MRF or community, they need to be working hand in glove on whatever they're going to accept in this stream or what they're not going to accept. And much like Athens, Georgia, we started with the end market in mind. That's the first thing that we went out and did. But I'll tell you a little bit about First Star. First, we own and operate a MRF out of Omaha, Nebraska, as well as a baling and transfer operation out of Lincoln, Nebraska. And what makes us a little bit unique and special is we do about 100,000 tons per year, and half of that is your single stream residential from the curbside, and the other half is commercial. A lot of MRFs, they'll focus in maybe on one or the other or dabble in both streams, but we are pretty evenly split 50-50. We've always taken a focus on sustainability and innovation, where we were the first MRF in community to start accepting, if any of you are familiar with the Hefty Renew Bag program, the orange bag, which is taking hard to recycle film and flexible packaging, and we are turning that into lumber here at our MRF through our brand of Solutions Plastic Lumber and Products. So we went to the MRF, or excuse me, the end markets. First, ours is our typical market for mixed paper is a blown-in insulator, and then we have other paper mills. We didn't just go to our primary market, we went to our second and our third market as well, because we know, much like any other commodity that we deal with, markets can change. Whether it's a local issue, a plant closes down, or it's a macroeconomic issue, and the commodity sees up, you have to have other places to go. So we couldn't just get it approved by our primary market. We had to go to our second and third market as well. It was actually fairly easy to convince them to allow us to do this because, quite frankly, you're already getting the material anyways. There's so much confusion, and Denise hit the nail on the head that education's an ongoing thing. It's not just a one and done. All of the slick graphics and social media campaigns, they work, but they can't just be hey, you did that for 3 months and now everybody will know what they're doing. I agree with Denise. You'll still have people 2-3 years after the fact holding on to some other piece of information that they heard 10 years ago, and you have to constantly correct it. So we were already getting the material in. It was already going through our system. In the grand scheme of things, with the amount of tonnage that we're getting, like I said, 50,000 tons a year on the single stream side alone. By weight, the amount of paper cups that you're going to get from coffee cups, the soda cups from fast food, it doesn't add up to a whole lot from a percentage standpoint. So once we were able to get the end market on board, end markets, excuse me, plural, on board, then we went to our city and hauler partners. Because we service a wide geographic area, and you're talking about the whole state of Nebraska and parts of Iowa, parts of South Dakota, each community is set up different. You have a community like Omaha where the city owns the contract. They are contracting out with one hauler and they set the rules for the whole citizens. You have the second largest city in Nebraska, Lincoln, where each individual homeowner or apartment owner has to contact a private hauler and work with them. So it's two different types of communities that we have to work with. For the city of Omaha, it was a matter of focusing on this would not add a huge cost increase to what they're paying for us to take recyclable material. Again, it's comparatively speaking a drop in the bucket by weight, and we felt in a lot of cases it was already happening, It was just better to get one unified single message out there. For Lincoln, it's was slightly different. There is another MRF operating in Lincoln, and the city and the haulers want to make sure if we are able to do this and we bring it to one MRF, and we can also bring it to the other MRF. So for them, it's just like the same problem for us with the end markets. In case one MRF goes down because of maintenance or something else, they don't want to start communicating something to their customers 1 month and then need to change that another month or another year down the road. Sometimes what can happen when there's two MRFs competing, what the city or the haulers like to do is just go to the lowest common denominator. Just, all right, both of you can accept material A, B, C, but the other MRF can accept material X, Y, Z. We'll just say we can only accept A, B, C, so we can keep our options going to go to either MRF. We had to reach out to our competitor MRF in the area and have the same kind of conversations that we had with the city. Say, we have to believe you're getting this material as well as we are. Your end markets probably aren't all that different from ours. Can we make this happen? Can we just grow recycling and not have the constant battles of consumers or residents hearing one thing's recycled one day and hearing it's not recycled the next day? We have what I would call a cooperative competition, and so they were open to that idea. And the city, again, knowing that it wasn't a huge amount of tonnage, it would help with consistency of message, and all the folks were relatively on board to varying degrees, gave us the go-ahead to start communicating out that we were able to accept these cups. When it comes to education, honestly, we wouldn't be able to do it without FPI. We are I like to tell our team, we're a big business with small business resources. We don't have a marketing person. We don't have the ability to go hire an expensive marketing firm to help us with this education. And so many times, I would say Denise in Athens is an exception, not the rule, for how they do such a great job communicating about their recycling program. So we are thankful that FPI, and we're just getting started with our communication campaign. We're thankful for everything that they've done to not necessarily give us something out of a box, a one-size-fits-all, but to come with a plan with products and then tailor it for what we need, given we service different communities who handle the recyclables in different ways. Yeah, so, if there's a takeaway, it's start with your end markets from my perspective. Work as hard as you can to get standardization in your service area, and then communicate. And we know we're just at the start of this, and we also know that it won't end after our campaign's done here in a few months. It's going to be an ongoing thing for years. So, yeah, I'll stop right there and wait for the Q&A and see what I can what questions I can answer.
Great. Thanks, Patrick. Up next, we have Maggie Orozco. She is a communications specialist with over 10 years of experience in the environmental field. As part of her work with the FPI's Community Partnership Program, Maggie has developed strategic communications plan to educate residents about recycling practices. She coordinates the creation of outreach material and identifies tactics to foster community engagement. Maggie holds a degree in environmental studies from the University of Southern California. Thanks, Maggie.
Thanks, Ashley. And hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here and talk to you about some of exciting updates that we have and new resources. But before I go into that, I want to start by grounding us a little bit more and giving you a little bit more background on some of the behind the scenes that we do for all of this work that Denise and Patrick have talked about, and for all of this to really come together. Over the years, FPI has really built strong connections with both MRFs and paper mills, as you've just heard. And those relationships are really critical because at the end of the day, they're the ones that make recycling possible at scale. And so that has enabled FPI to create this community foundation. We've done that through due diligence, we've built those relationships, and we've made sure that the pieces are in place so that when new items like paper or plastic cups and containers are added to recycling programs, they can actually succeed in that marketplace. And we can go to the next slide. And so what you're seeing now is FPI's community partnership program, which is really the culmination of all that effort. So the marketplace, the mills, the MRFs, and the communities themselves that have come together to make recycling these materials not just an idea, but again, like a real working system. So before we ever partner with a community to add something new, whether again it's paper cups, plastic containers, pizza boxes, or other food service packaging, we take a very careful step-by-step approach. We don't really move forward until the entire supply chain has given us that green light. So that means the mills, MRFs, haulers, and the community itself are all aligned. So on the screen here, you'll see those conditions that we make sure are met before we move forward. We want to make sure that the MRF is ready to take on this new material. The facility has the operational capability to sort and accept the material. There has to be that infrastructure in place and hauling systems that can transport the collected materials, and that resident messaging aligns from the haulers to avoid any confusion. Of course, we want that community commitment. We want to engage with public works, solid waste directors, and education coordinators, and make sure that all of our messaging is aligned and consistent. We want market assurances. We get support from trade associations and industry groups, which I'll talk a little bit more on the next slide. And as everyone has alluded to already, those end markets are super important. Buyers are in place for that recovered material, and they're able to handle the volume and avoid contamination issues. And so when all of those pieces come together, that's when we can confidently move forward and we can tell residents, yes, you can recycle this item now, and this is the correct way to do it. And so talking a little bit more about the end market buy-in, this is a screenshot of our interactive end market map for food service packaging that is available on FPI's website. You can filter your search for end markets by specific bale type. And if you click on each of the colored markers, a box will appear that has more information about that specific end market. We have other resources as well as like a paper mill list that shows all the commitments that we've received from mills that are willing to accept paper cups. We also have a paper cup end market and a foam polystyrene end market map. But of course, we know that mills don't just wake up and decide to take on a new material one day. All of that acceptance comes from careful planning and alignment through the supply chain. But we know now that MRFs can sort paper cups and other food service packaging items. And we know that there are established markets for those materials. And so all of that has ultimately led to something really significant. We can go to the next slide. And that's mills acceptance on a broader scale. Mills now have the confidence to accept paper cups, and that confidence has been formalized and recognized through the REMA/ISRI bale spec. So for those that are less familiar, REMA is the leading trade association for the recycling industry. You may know it by its former name, which is ISRI, that stands for the Institute of Scrap Recycling Industries. But they're the ones who develop and maintain specifications for recycled commodities, including the bale specs for recovered paper. And these specs are really important because they're used as reference points in recycling contracts. So FPI worked really closely with one of its members, Graphic Packaging, to advance the resolution to REMA. And that resolution called for updating the inbound specification to reflect the acceptance of paper cups. And very recently, on July 5th, REMA's committee officially approved it. So what does that mean in practice? It means that paper cups are now formally included in the inbound spec, and paper cups are generally acceptable in both single stream and dual stream recycling programs across the country. And then to clarify a little bit, REMA's role is not to create the marketplace, but rather to reflect it. So the marketplace was already there, as we've talked about, but FPI's due diligence proved that mills and MRFs were ready. So again, they're the leading recycling trade association. So when they update a spec, like formally including paper cups, it does carry authority. It signals to MRFs, mills, and communities that the marketplace has aligned and that there's industry support behind acceptance. And when recycling contracts are written, they reference these specs. So having REMA's authority behind that decision really gives a lot of confidence and credibility. And then the inbound spec reads a lot more closely to how a community acceptables materials list would read versus like a MRF spec, which is a lot more technical. So it makes it really easy for communities to understand and then apply that to their own programs. So what does this mean for communities? Well, it makes it really easy for communities to include paper cups in their recycling programs. They don't have to guess, they don't have to worry about whether or not there'll be support from mills and markets. It also helps calm fears and uncertainty. So both for community leaders making decisions and for residents who may have been confused about whether cups belong in the bin. Third, it adds another brick in the wall toward consistent nationwide acceptance of paper cups. Every step like this just kind of builds a stronger foundation. And then finally, as I mentioned a little bit, it does come with the authority of REMA behind it. The alignment reinforces what FPI has been saying, but it also ensures that messaging and industry standards are in sync. And so that combination of clarity, confidence, and consistency is really what makes long-term acceptance possible. So exciting updates there. And next I'm going to be talking about the resident education kit, which I'm really excited to share with you about. We've been working on some exciting updates to FPI's existing resident education kit with some more resources. We are formally launching this next week, but we wanted to give webinars attendees a little sneak peek, a little tease, show you what's available and let you try it out. So just a little information about what's included. It does have fully customizable outreach tools that are at your fingertips. It's really easy for communities of all sizes to customize these tools really easily and then push them out to your communities and boost the recycling of food service packaging. It is live now on our website, so you're welcome to go and use it now and share the word. It still does have those downloadable image galleries that it had before and messaging best practices. Those are staples in that kit, but we also added new templates and communication resources, and we've put new graphics that can be customized for your recycling program for free in Canva. And so you can brand this kit the way you want to. It can align with your community's look and feel and your local guidelines. You don't need graphic designer experience or you don't need to purchase any software. So it's super easy. And we can go to the next slide, sorry. And so talking a little bit more about the communication resources first, we do have some press release templates in there, templates to notify your residents and your city council, asking them to share the news, some FAQs, as you're pushing this messaging out, you might get some questions. We have that outlined really easily for you there. We have messaging best practices and checklists just to make sure that as you're updating your information, everything is aligned and nothing is contradictory towards each other. So again, it's super easy, free, it's zero guesswork. It is designed with industry best practices and tested outreach strategies that we use through our community partnerships all the time. So whether you're just planning a 1-week push or a year-long campaign, like you can definitely use these to have a start strong and sustain momentum. And here are just some examples of those communication resources that are available. And what I'm most excited to share with you today is our customizable Canva templates that include some social media graphics and website banners for recycling food service packaging. So all you need for this is a Canva account. A free one is fine. You don't need to get the premium version. All you would need to do is click on a graphic. It creates a copy of the graphic into your own account, and then you can customize it really quickly. And I'm going to do a quick demo for you guys. Share my screen. All right, I think you can see my screen here. Okay, perfect. So this is our resident education kit live. So I'm going to click on Canva templates. And I'm going to customize this plastic container social media one. So you can see here, it's saying that a template was shared with you. I'm going to view the template, kind of open in editor. So then now this is my Canva account. You can see here it's copy of, and you can see here, try Pro for 30 days. I'm using the free version, so you can use the free version as well. This first page here is just some quick instructions if you've never used Canva before, but Canva is very intuitive and very user-friendly. So even if you don't have a graphic design background, it should be very, very easy. The first page is the English version, and the last page is the Spanish version if you choose to do that. So I'm going to do a quick demo. So first, I'm going to change the URL of my recycling webpage, and I'm going to use my fictional Maggie's Town Recycles. And I can reshape that, make it bigger, larger. I can play with that a little bit later. I can change the font style. So this is using Barlow. I can click on this, go up here, and click whatever font is for my community's brand. I'm just going to use this top one here. And then just to make it really easy, I'm going to change all. So now all of the text on the graphic is changed. And again, I'm just going to click on something. I can resize it. I can move this around just so I can see. Yeah, that looks pretty good for now. I'm going to add a logo. So we have a placeholder here. So I'm just going to click that and click delete. And I'm going to upload a logo. So I can either go to upload and upload a file. I can also just drag and a logo appears. And I created this logo in AI in 2 seconds. So don't judge too hard for my Maggie's Town fictional logo. So I'm just going to move it over. I can resize this. And then I'm going to adjust the colors. So this background color, my town does not use green as part of its brand color. So I'm going to click the background. You can see that green pops up here. And then I can choose whatever colors for my community. We'll just say this blue for the purpose of this demo. And I'm going to click on this text here and highlight it. And then go here to text color, swap that out. I can do the same for this. I can also change the background highlight color. So instead of blue, I can change it to something else. So I can go to effects. You'll see that background is highlighted. I'm going to change that to orange just to match my orange logo here. Then I can take a look at this and say, yes, I accept all these items, or no, we don't accept clamshells. So I'll just delete that. I can also move these around if I feel like they need a little bit of adjusting. Let's say that my community always uses a hashtag in our campaigns. I can go to text, add a little bit of text here, and I'll do Maggie Recycles, if I can spell correctly. And then I will move this over. And again, I can play with the color of that. I can play with the size. I can make it bold, just brand it to my community. And then I would do the same thing to the Spanish version if I wanted to use the Spanish version for my community if there was a lot of Spanish-speaking customers. But I'm just going to use the English one for now. I'm going to change the file name just so I can stay organized, and I'll say plastic containers. Then I'm going to go to share, download. I'm going to leave it as a PNG, but I can change it to something else if I wanted to. I can download all of the pages, but I really just need this one. So I'm just going to click current page 2, or just select 2 here, and then click download. And I have my really, really easy social media graphic that I created in, I don't know, 4 minutes. So it's super easy. You can change it as much as you want. And if you go to the resident education kit, you can go to those communication resources, look at the social media post samples, take something from there, and it is super, super easy. So I'm gonna give that back to you, Melissa. I'm gonna give the screen back to you. Awesome. And then just a quick clarification, FPA's community partnership program that Patrick and Denise talked about, that's not going anywhere. Communities looking for larger scale campaigns can definitely still apply for an FPI communications grant, which does provide expanded resources and advertising placements. The updated kit simply expands access, really does empower communities with the confidence to kind of launch their own campaigns by themselves. But let's say you did want to do that and you want to recycle paper cups and other food service packaging items. We have this resource on our webpage. But essentially what you need to do is kind of do your own low due diligence. If you're a consumer, you want to check with your recycling program. Communities should check with their MRF. And they should follow best practices in terms of communicating that to residents. You want to show images of clean paper cups without ancillary items like straws, liquids, and lids. And you want to make sure all of your information is consistent, that you don't have on your Waste Wizard paper cups are not accepted, but on your flyer it is. You want to make sure that there's no contradictory information. For MRFs, of course, you want to check with your end markets, make sure that that material can be accepted. And mills, we also have a few resources for mills. Frequently asked questions, those maps that I talked about before, and then just know that FPI is here to support. We can provide operational MRF and end market dialogue assistance. So if you ever get to any hurdles, we're here to help. And of course, I'm here to help with any communications and outreach efforts. And that's all I have. Thank you, guys.
All right, great. Thank you, Maggie, for that wonderful demo as well. Really excited about those Canva templates for communities to use. Okay, so now we're at the Q&A section of the webinar. So I'd like to ask all of our hosts to come off mute and come on video. Matt, I'm also going to ask you because I saw you were answering some questions in the chat, and I'm sure some of these are gonna lead to that eventually. So Matt Todd with RRS, he is our technical advisor when it comes to all things recycling. So he's the guy that's making it happen for us. And so any sort of MRF and market questions, Matt's gonna help us answer. And there were a few of those in the Q&A. So one that I would like to answer really quickly, just to, because this was a question that we got on the registration page and then also in the Q&A section, is about wax coated cups. So as of the market today, there are very few, probably a fraction of a percentage of wax coated cups on in the marketplace. The only thing I can think of is really kind of like those dental or cups that you would use, in your bathroom or at like a dentist's office. And so really the vast majority of the paper cups that you would get are poly-coated. So it'd be like a traditional polyethylene lining or a polylactic acid, which can also be composted as well. So that just to clear that up, that there is really a very minuscule amount of wax coated cups out there right now. So
And we actually do have an FAQ about that in the resident education kit. So if you get questions about that and you're not sure the best way to answer that, we have language for you.
Perfect. Thank you, Maggie, for pointing that out as well. So Maggie, you kind of touched about it on the that page, one of the beginning slides where you had the prerequisites. We used to call them the gatekeepers for municipalities and facilities, how to add this type of material to their collections and processing. Would you mind just going over that again? Like who needs to be involved? Who needs to, what needs to be discussed, and where does it all start? And maybe that's more of a question for Matt too. So you guys maybe tag team.
Yeah, I think we could tag team it. But yeah, essentially, you want to do your due diligence and make sure that you're hitting all of the stakeholders in the supply chain. And the typical way that FPI does it is we kind of work backwards from the end markets, right? So there's been a lot of studies and tests done to make sure that we can prove the pulpability and the acceptance of these items in these bales. And so once we kind of get the green light there, then we move to the next step, which is the MRFs. And of course, it has to be on an individual basis. recycling guidelines change and markets are different. So we want to talk to the MRF, make sure that they have the operational capabilities to sort and accept the material, that they understand how to sort it and the best way to do that. If they work with haulers, and we'll talk to them, make sure that they have the infrastructure to transport the collected materials, that there's no issues on their end, that if they need to update any of their messaging, that's done as well. Then, of course, we work with the community itself, public works, solid waste directors, education coordinators. They're really the feet on the street, talking to residents and making sure that that recovery happens and it's done well without contamination. So we work with them to say, what is the messaging you've been doing? Where are you pushing out your messaging? Where do we need to update that? And how do we make sure we do that without confusing your residents, right? And throughout the whole thing, we're making sure we have support from trade associations, industry groups, like I just talked about, like the REMA and ISRI Bell Spec, and just kind of always checking in with everyone. I check in with our partners all the time. Matt is checking in with Mills and MRFs all the time. We're making sure that if anything changes, we're there to address it in whenever we can. Matt, I don't know if you have anything else to add there.
What you said was absolutely perfect. I'll just go back to the beginning though, and that's how we've started. When we started our community partnership program back in 2017, I mean, that's how we started. I mean, and to Athens, Clarke County, one of the reasons they were an early partner is because we had Pratt as a market, and they're right there, in the backyard. And that's the marketplace for their mixed paper. So initially making those connections because we had very limited markets for paper cut, but now it's pretty broad, honestly. If you go and look at some of those resources and look at the maps and see the mills that are, accepting paper cups and the bales that they're buying from MRFs, it's pretty broad across the country. So that's why we're now, in a position to have these conversations with you all to talk about just generally, paper cups can be a part of your program. But just know that the background research, all the work that we've done up to this point has started at the mill side and worked backwards through the value chain to make this real. So just know that there's been a lot of work leading up to this point.
Great. Thank you both. Okay, so these next two questions are going to be for Denise and Patrick, because it talks about food contamination. You guys added food service packaging, paper, plastics, and things like that. So, has food been an issue for you guys, since adding these products?
I would say no, and paper cups are less of an issue than even like PET bottles, where a PET bottle will have a lid and, somebody will keep their water or their soda pop or, even in some cases their tobacco spit in it, and they put it in the system, and when it goes through the hauler, it doesn't get compacted and crushed out. Then it goes across the line and it's too heavy for the optical to shoot on it, and so it gets missorted into residue. The paper cup, even if someone puts a lid, it's going to get compacted. That lid's going to come off and get separated. The liquid's going to come out, and it's going to act mostly like paper, depending on how, and Denise said it as well. Our systems must not be too much different. Some of it's going to get to the container line as well, but food perspective, I think it's no different than a lot of things. Obviously, you want to communicate. Don't put it in with liquid in it. I mean, that's more for the haulers than the MRFs, but I think it's less of a problem than some other products out there.
And I'll just add that food has always been an issue for us. So I would say that it hasn't changed it any. And I think there was another question too specifically about liquids. So we have our downtown Athens, which I don't know how world famous it is, but there's a lot of drinking that happens downtown. So we already get a lot of liquids already from bottles. So adding in the cups, we haven't noticed a significant difference. So it's not that it hasn't disappeared because we've added cups, but I wouldn't say it's any more. So the food is probably second in our contamination. We're battling bags is our biggest thing, bagging them, and then just loose bags. But food has always been an issue for us anyways, unfortunately.
Got it. Understood. Yeah. And so just to also, the body of research that FPI has done over the past decade, We've done 3 food contamination studies at a MRF, and yeah, we have found that food service packaging specifically has no more food kind of contamination than like your other retail food contact packaging. So yeah, and it's not an issue. There was the pizza box study done with grease and cheese, and people were throwing away boxes that the paper mills were saying, hey, we can still recycle those, but even, those are still good even with that amount. So yes, we do advocate for clean and empty. Um, Clean and empty is our main like slogan when it comes to food service packaging. So yes, we definitely want those liquids and food off, but usually for the most part, a little bit is not an issue. So and then for both of you, we have a question about paper cup recycling, and does it cause any confusion when it may or may not be included with food scraps recycling, such as like composting? So I think Denise, maybe you might have the most insight onto that, but have you found any issues with confusion for contamination of maybe compost?
Yeah, so what I've seen, so we started out commercially composting, so it was just businesses mostly. And then we started having drop sites with residents. We have free drop sites that people can bring in compostables. Mostly it's food scraps. That's kind of really how we promoted it. And we always say BPI certified. Anytime we're talking about a product, it's BPI certified. You always hear those 2 words together. But one thing that we were kind of surprised about, we did partner with the University of Georgia and did a composting trial for about 400 residents that opted in to have collection at their homes. And we were surprised at how much paper was actually coming in with the composting, but it wasn't just paper cups. It was like all kinds of paper. So we quickly learned there needed to be an education just about the hierarchy of waste reduction, of how recycling is supposed to be first. But people were putting just like pieces of paper, like in newspapers, like any kind of paper was going in the composting. So we quickly had to kind of, learn like, please recycle paper. And then if it's a compostable material, then you can compost it. So the biggest issue was at our composting facility, just those loose paper was just like flying everywhere because there was just so much loose paper. So it wasn't so much paper products, it was newspaper and paper. So there is a little bit, but I wouldn't say that it added too much of a confusion to it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Um, okay, and so Matt, this is going to be a question for you. We have a question about the pricing of bales when paper cups are mixed in, and does it lower the bale grade when paper cups are added?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the answer to that is no, it doesn't. So a lot of these MRFs that are making mixed paper bales that include paper cups, and I'll let Patrick sort of lean into this as well, since he's doing it for real. But they're after the mixed paper bale, so the commodity price is the commodity price for that mixed paper bale, even if it includes paper cups. And for a lot of our relationships that we built with mills, there is a mill spec, and they've agreed that paper cups can be in their mixed paper bales. We're not just forcing it on them, and there's been conversations about that. So part of that collaboration is that it's just part of the mixed paper bale. Patrick.
Yeah, I would say generally, Matt, you're right. There's always complications when you're dealing with markets. There's different paper bales, so you have to get specific on which grade are we talking about. But typically, the paper cups that are going into single stream should be going to a pretty basic mixed paper bale. And again, not only because of the work FPI and RRS have done to get that bale spec, but also, again, it's not, in the grand scheme of things, a huge amount of tonnage you're talking about. Now, we have a large coffee chain that does a lot of their post-industrial work here. If they were to, on the commercial side, send us a whole truckload of paper cups and we were trying to put that in to the mill, we may have an issue, but not what we're talking about on the single stream. Also say this, it seems like mills are going in two directions strategically. You have some mills who are trying to open up their processes and their operations to take a wider spec to allow an ease of recycling. And you have some mills who are tightening up their spec from, they want to see, it's gone from 10 to 5 to 2, now down to 1 over the last 15 years of the contamination. So you just have to watch where the markets are going because they're dynamic. It's not static, but it's not anything that gives us any amount of concern, nor have we seen our price drop because of it. And again, you're going to get it anyways. It's just the nature. So you might as well do it right and communicate it right.
Great.
And I'll just preface just one thing that Patrick said. So on the pre-consumer side, there is a specialty bale right now for pre-consumer paper cups. So that's already a thing. And there's mills out there that are just buying that grade and consuming it. So, if that were a thing, there's a marketplace already for that type of material. But when we're talking about right now, paper cup recovery, just because of the way that they come in and how they're so distributed throughout the waste stream, the easiest way for recovery is to have them come into the MRF and be sorted into mixed paper.
Great. And then we do have a question too about like how plastics, polypropylene and PET, how are those affecting those bales? If you guys could talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind. Is there anything wrong with them, or food service packaging, polypropylene and PET thermoforms?
No, I think those markets are definitely more mature. I mean, so is mixed paper. Polypropylene is getting there, and you see a lot of MRFs investing into separating that out from their traditional 3 through 7 bale. This is what I was talking about. Some MRFs, or excuse me, some mills are becoming more specific in what they want to specialize in. And so you've seen that in the polypropylene space. So now it's up to MRFs to understand if the market's going to be there and at what price for the long term. So it's sustainable for us to make the investment and the community partners to understand what that investment's going to take on their cost side as well. So we didn't find a lot paper cups, if we're talking about paper cups getting into the PET and polypropylene bales, if that's the point of that question, we aren't seeing that. And if anything, if they're missed, they go to the residue, and hopefully you have an optical machine learning that's giving you a read on, is it worth it to rerun it through your system or not.
Great. Thank you. Okay, I think that is all we have time for, so I can wrap us up. I do have a challenge for all of you out in the audience. We ask you, to take action, right? If you don't accept paper cups or food service packaging yet and you want to, please, there is the value chain checklist that you can do, or, the resident education kit. Their QR codes are on the screen, so you can go to those. And if you're ready, please, reach out to us, reach out. Your email will be at the end here, but yes, reach out, let us know how you're doing. If you need help, if you are dealing with any of these issues that we talked about or challenges, we're here to help. With education, especially, we kept hearing we need more education, and so we're here to support you all in that. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us on this webinar. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.